What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Nathan, and on this planet we send it. And what we're going to be getting today, well, I headed out to TDS, Tierra del Sol, this past weekend, and I kind of want to bring this to you guys. Now, I'm going to be honest, and I'm going to be up front here. I was originally thinking that I wasn't going to be ended up doing a video. Now, I brought all my stuff out there, getting ready to do a video, but as soon as I got out there, the wind was crazy. The forecast, why we went out there in the first place, was only supposed to be like 8 miles an hour out there, but when we got out there, it was probably something like 28, maybe even 38 miles an hour, as you guys are going to see in some of these clips here. It was crazy. And when you just get out to the desert and it's that bad, you just really don't want to do anything. So we pretty much, when we got out there, just stayed in the vehicles, and that's why I was originally thinking I wasn't going to do a video. But when I was out there with the Mojave, I was actually seeing that the Mojave was doing a little bit better than I was anticipating. It's not, it is a stock vehicle, so I'm not trying to blow it up beyond what it is, but I was actually having a lot of fun in the stock Mojave. So I decided I'd go ahead and start recording some things, just in case that I decided to do a video. And then after a little bit later, towards the end of the day, we actually got to see Genright, Tony, the CEO from Genright, out there in his hardcore JL, and then also a LJ that's called Shamrock that had the Genright tracer build on it. And I'll be up front, that tracer build is exactly where I want to end up getting in time after saving up for all that those parts. But that's where I eventually want to get my LJ to, because I just think that Genright absolutely did it right on that one. So I'm looking forward to doing that. So the plan for this video is I'm going to be breaking it up into two parts. First, I'm going to show you some of the Mojave stuff, then some of the things that I was doing with the stock Mojave, and then the second half of it is going to be watching some of the video that I was able to get of Tony and just a little bit of him, but mostly of Shamrock and the tracer build LJ. All right, I got a plan in place. Risks were acceptable. Let's go ahead and send it. And so we are going to jump right into it. And just wanted to give you a little background. Well, number one, this was one of the areas where I found my forward-facing trail cam was a huge help, being able to see over these cliffs as I went down. But we had just been playing in this area just for a few minutes, coming over from the Truck Haven playground area to where we are right now, close to the notches, and we were just wanting to play around. And by this point, I was already pretty impressed with the Gladiator. I was thinking, due to the wind, I probably wasn't going to record, but I was actually starting to be pretty impressed with what the Gladiator was doing. Again, it is stock. I'm not saying it's like crazy, souped up or anything, but it was doing a lot better than I thought it was. I was already, by this point, had made a run in the desert at about 65 miles an hour, so I was pretty happy with how I was feeling about this. So now I just kind of wanted to see, all right, well, let's see what we can do with rear lockers and a somewhat high, low range.
Are we gonna go up here?
Mm-hmm.
What? Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Again?
See?
So I want to show you the drive on over to this hill where we are, and because to give you I'm doing that because I want to give you a good idea on what the steepness of this hill. Now, unfortunately, I'm new to having an inclinometer, so I wasn't checking the pitch and roll, but I will say that the key thing that I'm trying to highlight on here is that I am crawling up this. I did just air down. I was aired down only to about 20 psi, and I was basically trying to crawl this. And again, forward trail cam helps significantly in these areas. And this clip right here is the perfect clip to show you how windy it was there in the sun drift. So you can just see that if you were to be standing out in that, if you didn't have eye protection for this particular environment like we didn't, or even some sort of, COVID mask types or even stronger, inhalation protection, it was a pretty unenjoyable time to be in the desert. So this was one of those times where I wish I had looked before I leaped. And I will say that the trail cam is definitely a mitigating factor if you find yourself in a position like I'm about to show you here. Now that slight pause that you saw me do just at the top was me taking a look at the forward trail cam, realizing that I had to go hard left as I went up there, and because it was just basically going to go right off the edge there. Now I think that was just another ramp I could have gone down, but if I would have headed straight, I probably could have got myself high centered. So here in a second, you're going to see me kick up the speed, and what I was trying to do here was test and see not only necessarily how good the suspension, but how smooth everything felt and how it kind of took on some of these corners. Now, like I said, I wasn't going too crazy fast, but on little dips like that, I was actually pretty impressed. Again, like, I'm not going to say that the Mojave stock suspension is the best thing out there. It's not, but it's pretty good for stock, even though I definitely see on the forums that quite a few people, are not happy with the squeaking that it does. I will say that it does pretty decent. And I don't want to act like I'm misleading you guys. I definitely had my fair share, although not that much. I did have my fair share of bumper scraping and definitely some belly scraping. There was at least one point just before I started recording to where I started going up and over a hill to where I decided, you know what, if I try to push any harder, I'm probably going to get high centered. So I decided not to proceed. I backed out of it. That was one time where my rear trail cam was working really good, and the rear is definitely a lot better resolution than the forward trail cam, but it was definitely, I will say, the Mojave was doing better than I thought in this environment, but regardless, it wasn't perfect. Yes, I was scraping on my belly and on my bumper on occasion. And I'm just showing you another clip of what the sun and dust and everything looked like at TDS 2023. This was another time that I wanted to go ahead and give it a rip on the dirt here. Okay.
Ay, no. Ay, Dios. Ow. Oh my God.
So on this trip, I had my sister-in-law, niece, and son with me, as you heard there, having fun in the background as I took those parts of the little berms right there, trying to act like I was a small ATC or something. But here I am. I'm intentionally bringing in the Gladiator into an area that you probably want to have a little bit more nimble of a vehicle to kind of get a feel for what it can do in these tighter areas. And that last dip right there, I was almost certain I was going to go ahead and scrape the bumper and hit the belly as I went over there. But it was surprising to me, I actually didn't touch any of them. And this was one of those fun locations where as you come up and you look over the side and you realize it's like a 30, maybe 40-foot drop and your wheel is hanging right there at the edge. You kind of just slowly press on through nice and calmly and make it safely to the other side. So that's going to go ahead and wrap up the Mojave content. We're going to go ahead and move on over to watching some of the awesome Genright vehicles. So Shamrock here is one of Genright's tracer builds for the LJ, and this is exactly what I want to put onto my Jeep once the funds come in over time. So this is something that I'm definitely saving up for, because everything about this is exactly what I want from the LJ, from the long arm kits to where it's stretched out from 103 inches out to 115. Just everything about it is just well done. I give Genright a lot of credit for creating this system. So while we are here, I will say that I knew that Genright was coming out and they were probably going to be doing like barbecue at like 5 o'clock this day. And I was thinking about going to it until when we got here and we saw that the sand was so strong, we decided not to. But I thought it was pretty cool that here when we were trying to check out the vendors, which the vendors ended up not being too much, that we went ahead and saw Shamrock. But when we got over here and we were taking a look at this one guy here on the rocks, watching him go over here at the Truck Haven playground, off to the left, I noticed that there was Tony from Genright, and he was there along with Shamrock. So I was thinking this was just great opportunity to maybe catch these two in the rough here in both of their Jeeps. So after we watch this guy here, we're going to go ahead and watch Tony going up an obstacle, and then also watching Shamrock go over some obstacles.
Hurry up here.
So I had seen as Tony and Shamrock departed that they were actually in line to go up an obstacle, but they weren't moving. So when I came over here to see what was holding them up, this guy right here was on his side. So after he gets pushed over, I'll go ahead and show you Tony going up this obstacle. Tony and pausing because the people had not quite cleared out completely from that guy who was turned out on his side. So that's why you'll see Tony was kind of holding up there, and also why Shamrock is now waiting. And although Tierra is a very cool vehicle, my priority was checking out Shamrock again because this is the LJ build I want for myself. And as you saw, other than getting hung up on the rear diff there for a second, that LJ Tracer build went exactly where that driver of Shamrock was pointing it. So now we're going to be watching it go through what's called the obstacle called Little Sluice here at the playground. All right, that's going to go ahead and wrap up this video. Again, as you saw, it was really windy on out there, and it was very unpleasant. You step on out there, you really needed to have some eye protection and even maybe some respirator to go ahead and prevent yourself from taking in all that dust out there. It was pretty bad, but even though like I was able to have some fun out there with the Mojave, I will say that it was a real treat to see Genright out there. That's what I thought that kind of made that quick day trip worth it. It was pretty awesome to see. But anyways, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you on the next one.